Well, good evening, Arkansas.
Good afternoon.
It's broadcaster Derek and assistant forecaster Cameron here again. So once again, as we've been talking about for several days now, the threat for severe weather has returned to the natural state. And again, this is also something that we have mentioned time and time again when it came to our winter outlook as we headed towards the latter end of our winter season. We will start talking about a early severe weather season. Unfortunately, that has come to fruition in many ways across really not only Arkansas but much of the Mid-South and the Southern Plains.
Definitely. So this is one of the more impactful systems that we're going to be dealing with as we get towards the Thursday time frame here. But don't let Thursday's significant event take you away from tomorrow's event. We're going to talk about tomorrow's severe weather threat as well. It could be a very sneaky setup. We've seen this in the past before where we've had the days before, the event before the event. So it's kind of keep that in mind. But I kind of wanted to talk to you guys about this first before we start getting into information. And then we got something super awesome that we're going to have you guys show in just a little bit. But right now, I'm going to talk to you guys about the storm planning because a lot of people will talk about severe weather. It's like, hey, why are we talking about it? It's day 4, day 5. We go through this exact timeline. So when you're a few days out, we tell you guys that the severe weather threat's on the table. That's when you need to start having the emergency supplies in place, know your safe place, and kind of talking to your family, during dinner, stuff like that, have a game plan. We are at the second column now. We are at the day before this severe weather threat starts. So now the forecast accuracy is obviously pretty good. It continues to improve. So adjust your plans. If you have plans tomorrow or Thursday, especially on Thursday, I would highly recommend kind of postponing those plans, pushing them off to Friday or the weekend if you can help it, or try to figure something out because I really don't want you guys doing anything outdoors, especially on Thursday. Wednesday, we're still going to watch as well. Make sure also that your phone can receive text messages, and we're going to talk more about that here in just a little bit. But make sure that your phone can receive those emergency alert texts. That's going to be the biggest thing. And also, double check your shelters. Make sure they're clean, they're accessible. Just kind of have that game plan ready to go in terms of getting ready to seek shelter if you have that situation come up tomorrow or on Thursday here. And then obviously, the third column will be tomorrow and on Thursday, the day of, where we talk to you guys about the communication plans, know what to do, and then we'll also obviously be live by that point here. Now, this is going to get posted right after the live stream is over, so don't have to worry about trying to save this right now. But this is something that is brand new. Big shout out to our developer for getting this done for us here, guys. But this is something that's going to be brand new to us for tomorrow and the Thursday. I'm going to let you elaborate a little bit more.
So, folks, this is a very exciting thing that we have been working on here really for a couple of years now. And we've been really trying to find somebody, somebody who can help us out with that. We've had time, just hadn't had time to do it because,
exactly.
And this is something really exciting, and it's kind of a process that we're starting out as we start to develop our app, develop our website more, develop more accessibility for you to access alerts, to access our live stream, to access really everything that we do here at Arkansas Weather Watchers. And this is going to be a very big thing here.
Big time.
And again, it's 100% free. You have other apps, that charge for texting. Well, our alerts, tornado warnings, tornado watches, severe thunderstorm warnings, severe thunderstorm watches is going to be completely free. We'll also send you a link to our live stream whenever we go live for any event. This or a severe thunderstorm warning, tornado warning, whatever, it will send you a link to us going live along with those watches and warnings available. It's a very exciting thing that we have been looking forward to, and very exciting to announce it.
Definitely.
A little bit here early. We thought we had a couple more weeks
beforehand, but yeah. And I said, our developer, he's been working extremely hard getting this done here, guys. So this is something that's brand new. As I said before, I said, don't focus on trying to get it right at this moment on this live stream. It's going to be available after the live stream, definitely tomorrow, definitely Thursday. But save that link, ArkansasWeatherWatchers.com. It's going to take you to an awesome platform that's going to have you choose your counties, put your phone numbers in. It's going to send you an opt-in message That's going to be very important. That way it can log in your phone number, and that way you're set. You're set for severe thunderstorm watches, severe thunderstorm warnings, tornado watches, and tornado warnings here, guys. And also, very important, because you guys, if you've been following us over the last year or so, we've been struggling with the algorithm issue. This completely bypasses that algorithm issue, so you don't have to worry about that. Anytime we're live, it will let you know immediately. So very, very exciting news coming our way in a pretty dire situation. Yeah, pretty people are signing up. Yep. So that's awesome. So just take a look at that, guys. It's going to be very awesome. Like I said, big shout out to our developer. He's done a very good job and getting this going, and big changes are going to be coming later this year as well. So before we get into the outlooks, let's talk about what to do in a situation if there's a tornado. If you're under a tornado warning, or Lord, I hope not, in a tornado emergency or anything like that, what to do in that situation here. So Derek, I'm going to let you elaborate on that one.
All right, so basically, as we mentioned, every time there is a tornado warning, or in some instances, like the other night in Northwest Arkansas, thunderstorm warning, we always make you go to the center part, lowest level of your house, away from windows, put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. And the reason being is because as debris comes flying from a tornado or high winds, the first place it is going to hit is that window or that exterior wall.
Yep.
And so what we mean by this, if you don't have, say, a storm shelter, you don't have a basement, you can go to a center part of your house where you are away from those exterior walls.
Yep.
The only exception is going to be a mobile home, because they don't really have that shelter that you need. The best thing for that said situation really is going to be, say, a bathtub or something like that, where you can get in and put as much stuff on you as possible, or something anchored to the ground. That way, at least you are protected. Pillows, mattresses, blankets, a bicycle helmet for your head, something to protect your head, because what happens is the head injuries are typically the number one thing we see with severe weather events, severe weather outbreaks. Mm-hmm. That's the first thing we see, followed by your outer extremities, etc. But if you have enough stuff to put on top of you, then you can kind of alleviate that.
Definitely.
Or if you know somebody that has a shelter, or your local community shelter, I'm sure several of them are going to be opening up.
Big time. Especially the Thursday setup. Wednesday, like I said, I'm not taking anything away from Wednesday, but definitely on Thursday. That's just something that we're going to have to watch. But definitely, I agree with you, Derek. I didn't mean to cut you off or anything, but yeah, that's the biggest thing, guys. Is just making sure you know where to go. The reason why we're not really immediately diving into the outlooks and everything is because we want you guys to be safe. We want you guys to know this stuff. That way, Thursday shows up, you're not running around trying to figure it out. So just keep that in mind across the board. Okay, so this is Wednesday's severe weather breakdown. You're going to see this graphic a lot over the next 24 to 48 hours out, guys. So you're going to have your severe threat on your left side, and timing is going to be on your right side here. So, and I want to stress something about the timing too. The colors don't mean squat in terms of the risk. The only ones that matters is going to be on your left side. The right side, the only reason why you have colors over there because it differentiates your time zone. It goes from 3 to 7 to 4 to 8 to 6 to 11. But on the left side, it's going to have your main severe weather risk. So obviously, we got the marginal risk across northern Arkansas, northeast, down into western Arkansas, the slight risk area from the metro to Memphis, down to the Queen and the Texarkana area, much of central and southern Arkansas for tomorrow. And like so for your timing, as of right now, still remains pretty good agreement on the timing right now. I may have to tweak it first thing in the morning. But 3 to 7 tomorrow afternoon from southwestern Arkansas, from Mena to the Queen to Daisy to Texarkana to Magnolia, and then 4 to 8 from Fort Smith to Russellville to Little Rock, down to El Dorado, Crossett, Monticello, and Lake Village, and then in the northeastern Arkansas, northern Arkansas, we're talking 6 to 11. This is going to be very quick. These aren't going to be storms that are going to last around, but we will have to watch out for that very large hail potential, and then also have to watch out for a few tornadoes tomorrow. Shouldn't be an outbreak, but we're going to keep an eye on the situation here. Go ahead.
So the biggest thing with tomorrow's event, this is what we call the event before the event. So this is a leading shortwave ahead of the main event. And basically tomorrow's going to be one of those days where it's going to be nice most of the days, but that warm front is going to be surging north. Now, as it surges north, that's when we do expect showers and thunderstorms to start to break out. Now, tomorrow's large hail risk is going to be relatively high. Tornado risk is going to be relatively low tomorrow. However, it's not going to be zero. Especially along our warm front, we could see a few isolated tornadoes possible. But the reason why your tornado threat is not as great tomorrow is because instead of having a cross shear, you're going to have winds that are going to be parallel with your storms.
Yeah.
So
southwest wind. Yep.
So basically, what that means is that you're not going to have a lot of rotation in the lower levels, but you're going to have plenty of it in the upper levels tomorrow. Meaning plenty of cold air loft and plenty of shear for hail development, but tornado threat, again, low, but definitely not zero, as we will still have a very strong jet stream coming in, especially tomorrow afternoon into the evening hours. Would not be shocked to see a small area
of an enhanced area,
of an upgrade to an enhanced risk across parts of southeast Arkansas for that hail risk tomorrow. We're talking hail 2 inches in diameter or more.
Yep.
And that's where concern exists, because we're talking about that tomorrow, but we're talking about that
a bigger day on
Thursday.
Thursday. So that's going to be the situation for tomorrow. And also we're going to show you guys Futurecast here in just a little bit as well. But this is Thursday, and Thursday is a very big day. I'm pretty sure it's been well advertised on social media. You guys have heard about it from us and everything else. You might want to bring the camera down a little bit. But you guys have heard about it a lot. So the biggest thing regarding Thursday is, there we go. All right, so the biggest thing regarding Thursday is we're going to have to watch and see where does the warm front stall out. Okay, that's the biggest thing. Guidance right now, you could throw an arrow into a dark room and it'll give you a solution, and it might be right, it might be wrong. So right now, the best confidence, and I'm stressing this right now, the best confidence goes from Waldron to Russellville, to Searcy, to Memphis, south. I want to stress something right now to everybody that is in North Arkansas. I hear this all the time during severe weather. Oh, it's a marginal risk. Oh, it's a slight risk. It ain't enhanced or moderate or high risk. Why should I pay attention to it? I'm going to throw you back a couple of weeks ago when we had that event in northern Arkansas and a confirmed EF1 tornado near the Clinton area during that overnight hours. That area wasn't a slight risk area. It was easily 200, 300 miles away from the biggest risk, which was the enhanced risk across eastern Arkansas. You had an EF1, as a matter of fact, it was an EF2. Mm-hmm. It was an EF2 significant tour go through that area. So those risks up there in the marginal slight risk area, it doesn't mean squat in terms of severe weather. It doesn't mean that you're not going to see it. It's not, enhanced or nothing. You have to pay attention. A matter of fact, the entire state needs to pay attention on Thursday, because I'm fairly certain this area is going to shift either to the north or south a lot coming up as we get towards the Thursday time frame here. So pay attention to the weather. Like I mentioned before, don't focus on the enhanced risk area. If you're in a marginal risk, you need to have a game plan ready to go for severe weather, because you could still deal with an isolated tornado threat as far north as southern Missouri. Yep. It just depends on what happens with this warm front. But central and southern Arkansas, especially in South Arkansas, because we both have family members down there, you need to have a game plan ready to go for Thursday. That's the biggest thing. That goes for almost that's over half of Arkansas at this point that is in the enhanced risk. So don't pay attention to the marginal or the slight risk. Say, hey, it's not going to happen. All this is confidence. Sure. It's not a percentage. It's just, hey, you're in a marginal risk. You have a lowered chance of seeing severe weather. It doesn't mean it's not going to happen. That's all what it is. So make sure you have a game plan ready to go for that Thursday time frame here.
So the biggest thing with Thursday's event, and I mentioned this, and this is going to be coming out in your forecast this evening after our live stream. But one thing I've mentioned about this is that we have a potential to have two separate fronts in the state. One is going to be our warm front that is going to move north along with our system. And the secondary front is going to be the potential to be what could be an outflow boundary or a secondary boundary left over from Wednesday's system. Yep. Now, the biggest thing is that where this boundary sets up is where our greatest severe, along the south of that boundary, is where our greatest threat of severe weather is going to exist.
Yep.
Now, that being said, right now, current guidance continues to shift that boundary a little further north with each passing hour. And unfortunately, what that means is that more of the area could be at risk for severe weather. Flip side of that coin, if that boundary sets up further south, then less of the area will be under under a greater severe weather risk.
Yep.
But given the amount of instability we're going to have in place,
the incredible shear
moisture
ridiculous.
in the place, dew points in the 60s and 70s, you're going to have temperatures in the 70s and 80s, especially along and south of that boundary.
Yep.
You're also going to have a upper level low, something we don't get often, upper level low that's going to be rapidly deepening as it moves towards the northeast. Now, if this were a snow threat, we would be talking about the potential of a major winter storm because that low would be deepening. But again, this low is going to our north. So to our north, you're going to be getting a snowstorm in parts of Nebraska, Iowa, Minnesota, places like that. But to the south of that, you're going to have a severe weather event. And because of the shear around this deepening low, coupled with it pulling in a lot of Gulf air, is going to set the stage for a severe weather outbreak. We use this word very, very rarely, especially on this page. Obviously, we want you to be prepared and not scared. But this is one of those events that has that potential to be one of those kind of days.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there's no way around it. We've been here before. February 08, April 2011. April 2011. We've seen these type of events before. We know what to expect. The biggest thing is to have a plan of action when a warning gets issued for your area. The one exception in 2011, 2014, AWW was not here. We are now to keep you ahead of the storm. So that's one big difference in those events and this one now. Yep. Now, again, I want to, the biggest event in this event, I've been trying to find a fail-safe with this event. Cameron and I both have over the last few days.
I can't tell you how long we were doing a forecast, 2 hours, trying to find something.
And unfortunately, the only fail-safe that we can really see is going to be if there's more rainfall than is currently expected.
Yep.
Along the north of that boundary, the rainfall will keep that boundary from moving north. Unfortunately, a lot of guides is drying us out after the event Wednesday night through much of the day on Thursday, with a few short waves moving across, obviously, with our warm air advection north of that warm front.
Yep,
so,
exactly.
That being said, if we get more rainfall than expected, it could kind of stagger that warm front into the Ozark Mountains.
Yep.
And, similar to what we talk about with the winter weather, cold air comes around the Ozark Mountains. In this case, the Ozark Mountains are going to block that warm air from coming north.
It's going to try its best.
It will try its best.
It's going to try its best,
Unfortunately, this time around, Cameron and I have talked about this, we've been asked, why is severe weather threats so much greater right now than they've been over the last few years?
And you draw it all the way back to the tropics of last year. I mean, you only had one hurricane that went through Florida, and the Gulf of Mexico has just been untouched since then. So and that's the biggest thing. Moving forward during the summer, if you go much of the summer without seeing any sort of impacts in the Gulf of Mexico, this is normally what ends up happening. You have one of these short-lived winters, and then you go straight into severe weather season. So I want to talk about this because this has been kind of the elephant in the room. What is the idea on timing on Thursday? Timing right now, as much as everybody wants to hear this, is going to be uncertain right now because you could have the potential of seeing multiple rounds of severe weather on Thursday. And I know someone's going to hear that. They're going to immediately click off. Here's I'm going to tell you why you need to stay, because what we're going to do on Thursday, it's going to be one of those broad-based timings. It's not going to be a minute-by-minute specific location or when you're going to expect it. It's not going to be like that because you're going to have the potential of seeing multiple rounds of severe weather starting Thursday afternoon, going as late as Friday morning. And there's some guys that take this all the way until Friday morning. So keep that in mind. As much as we want to answer those timing questions right now on Thursday, and I know everybody has plans. They're trying to travel, like Lauren in her situation, trying to travel from Fort Smith to Conway and back. Right now, you're going to have to be patient with us because we're trying to nail down timing as much as you guys want that information. So right now, I say anything from noon on Thursday to 6 o'clock in the morning on Friday, I wouldn't bank on doing anything outdoors. That's where you're going to have the biggest threat of seeing severe weather as we get towards the day on Thursday. And I'm banning you right now. probably as early as midnight tonight, you're going to have a moderate risk in southern Arkansas. You're going to have somebody's going to end up in a moderate risk before we come back into this live stream tomorrow. But that's the biggest thing, guys. And I understand the frustration with not hearing the timing and stuff like that. But the biggest thing is you got to be patient with this because we're trying to nail this down as much as you guys do. But Wednesday, we've got a pretty good, solid idea on the timing right now here. Go ahead, Nick.
All right, so the biggest thing I want to stress about it, if you're in the marginal risk and the slight risk in northern Arkansas, don't let your guard down. Because if they issue a moderate risk or if they expand that enhanced risk, all these risks will move north. Right now, it's based upon confidence of where that frontal system, the second frontal system, will set up.
Yep.
And again, it's a difference of 10 degrees.
Big
Literally,
time.
you're talking 70s to 80s south of the front, 60s north of the front. And you're going to have a 10 to 15 day shift south of that front. Your instability is going to be approaching 2,000 south of that front. So, and unfortunately, that's where everything's going to be at. And right now, confidence is relatively high that we're going to see that. That's why we keep mentioning the idea of a potential severe weather outbreak, because all the ingredients are coming in place for a very early season severe weather event. Again, nothing uncommon for this time of year, but typically when we see a rapidly deepening upper low, James Bryant made a very good tweet about this earlier today, actually.
Yeah, I saw that earlier, all those events. 5 of the 6 events that we've had a deepening low moving through the region, we've seen tornado events. The only other exception was the Easter Sunday event, where we had a high wind event. That was a derecho. That was a straight derecho. So that's the biggest thing, guys. The biggest thing I want to stress too, and before I get to Futurecast, I'm going to answer the questions regarding Thursday here. So I'm going to take it back to this. Matt, great guy. He great follower of us. We see your questions all the time. I'm assuming a moderate risk is going to be issued for Thursday. I can almost guarantee it. Matt, to answer your question, yes. Now, I don't know if it's going to be 100% ready by tomorrow's event, since tomorrow's event kind of hit us in the face right there. But definitely it's going to be available for Thursday. So if it's not available for tomorrow, then we'll have it set for Thursday. We'll have it starting tomorrow night and going all the way till Thursday, and we'll just kind of break in as we get more information here. So just kind of look out for that across the board. So what is the instability looking like across the state? We have a good amount of instability in place, and I'm going to have that information for you guys coming up here in just a little bit. But basically, I take this map that you see the slight risk from Fort Smith to Clinton over towards Jonesboro South. Assume that you're going to have decent instability. You're going to have that 1,500 to 2,000 instability. Very, very strong wind shear. We're talking wind shear easily upwards to 90 to 100 knots. Very, very directional shear in place. So keep that in mind. We're going to have to watch that very closely, especially for folks central and south Arkansas. But north Arkansas, don't take that marginal risk and tell somebody, oh, it's not going to happen. Folks, let me stress this right now because somebody's going to ask about this. Those marginal and slight risk areas do produce severe weather. Let me make that clear. They do produce severe weather. I'm not trying to induce panic or anything like that. We want you guys to be safe, and we want you guys to not be biased to the highest risk areas. Marginal and slight risk areas do produce severe weather, sometimes significant severe weather. We see it time and time and time and time again. And I'm going to keep reminding you guys every time we see it. So keep that in mind here. But that's a great point here. Also, that's the biggest thing. The bug's been fixed. If you guys didn't get an opt-in text letting you know, you may have to put your number in again. That bug's been fixed. A lot of people are kind of going to it immediately. I told them it's going to be the case. So just keep that in mind. But if you got your number in, you're going to be fine. Also, oh yeah, that's the wrong one. So, all right, Pam, she's got a good point. With this, it's going to be I'm going to tell you it's going to be a no.
Right,
he's going to explain why.
Pam, this is what we've been talking about and what I've mentioned in the forecast over the last few days.
Yep.
And I put it in all caps in our forecast discussion as well. Again, the threat Wednesday will not affect Thursday.
Yep.
The only thing it will affect is where that boundary sets up. And right now, again, where the slight marginal risks are and, possibility of an enhanced risk across parts of the state tomorrow as well, the only it is going to affect is how far really north that boundary goes.
The northern extent is the question right now. That's it.
And the northern extent is where is the only question at play. The less the less of a coverage we see tomorrow, the further north that boundary will go Thursday.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to say. So in a way, yes, but mostly no. It will not affect the severity of it because we're talking afternoon, evening Thursday, not morning on Thursday.
Right. So please keep that in mind. That's a great point, Derek. And I'm glad Pam asked that question because I know everybody's going to see that tomorrow and they're going to immediately think, oh, it's Thursday's done and stuff like that. No, it's not going to affect Thursday. I promise you, it's not going to affect Thursday. Love that comment. If I could put that comment on a billboard, I'd do it immediately. Love it. That's what we mean. That last slight risk we had last week, 4 tornado warnings on us at once and around us. Never let your guard down. I love it. That's why we stress so much about it. It's because severe weather does occur in those marginal and slight risk areas here. And look at her example. 4 tornado warnings on her over with that last event we just had. So keep that in mind, guys. Don't be biased to the higher risk. It will burn you every single time. I promise you it will. So, what do we need for this to shift out of Arkansas completely? I'm going to be honest with you, Matt. It's not going to happen. Somebody in Arkansas is going to see it. It's just a question on how far south it is. But every piece of data we've looked at keeps it in Arkansas. And it's just because of your southeasterly ridge. And this draws all the way back to the point we made earlier about how warm the Gulf of Mexico is right now. It's in the 80s in the Gulf right now, which is supportive of ridging in the Gulf of Mexico. So, unfortunately, somebody in Arkansas is going to have to deal with this. It's either going to be southern Arkansas, central and south, or the entire state. Somebody's going to have to deal with this.
Yep.
Northern Arkansas, you have the biggest question right now. Central, your question mark was big. Now it has gone to small because there's more confidence that the warm front's going to make it north of I-40. South Arkansas, you've never had a question to begin with because of the southeast ridge. But that's a good point. But unfortunately, with that ridge in place, you're not getting this out of Arkansas. It will not happen with this setup here. So,
I will say this: the flip side of this coin is, if you're in the lowest severe risk, your flooding threat goes up.
Exactly.
That's another thing. The other thing
Big
that's
time.
getting buried with this event, and unfortunately, is the flooding event, because there's a possibility here of 2 to 4 inches of rain over the course of the next couple of days with each wave, 1 to 2 inches one way, 1 to 2 inches of the next. As many of you know, over the weekend, parts of west central, into east central Arkansas saw upwards of 5 inches of rain.
Yep.
So, unfortunately, everything's already swollen, our ground's already saturated, so therefore all that rain falling over the same areas over and over again. If we have training supercells or a training type of event, which is very possible, by the way, on Thursday, very similar to what we saw in March of 97.
Yeah.
Ironically, around the anniversary of March 1st of 97, where you saw several training supercells throughout the day, starting early and lasting late into the evening hours then, too. And unfortunately, with that, you saw training supercells. That's similar to what we're going to see on Thursday. And that rainfall moving over the same areas with the amount of moisture we have in place is going to lead to a flooding event, along with the possibility of tornadoes, along with the possibility of large hail, along with the possibility of damaging winds. And another thing, with the rainfall with the rainfall threat, we also have to watch out for uprooted trees as well. Because saturated ground, coupled with high winds, we're talking winds in excess of 80 miles per hour with this event, similar to what they had in Oklahoma on Sunday. Another very similar event. So with that being said, we're going to have to watch for that possibility as well. There's a lot of different moving parts with this event, and a lot bigger moving parts than we've seen all winter season so far. Tomorrow starts meteorological spring. Tomorrow starts our severe weather season. Therefore,
what a start to it. What a start to it. I saw your question earlier. What was it? I think it was Hunter. He's asked about the high risk. I want to kind of talk about this too before we kind of go more into future casts. I'm just trying to get everybody's question right now. We're going to be live for probably another hour going over all the information, asking everybody's questions and everything like that. So the biggest thing in terms of a high risk, let me explain how this works. This is the exact thing that I was just talking about with the marginal and slight risk areas. This is all confidence. It doesn't go off of a certain percentage that you're going to see severe weather or you're not going to see severe weather. That's how it works. So to get a high risk, you have to have so much confidence that you're going to see widespread severe weather. I'm talking long-lived tornadoes and everything. Matter of fact, there was an interesting tweet from Evan Bentley. He's one of the SBC forecasters that makes these risks. And he talked about why you don't see high risk a lot. Because as a matter of fact, you have to have a certain amount of number of tornadoes. I'm talking high-end tornadoes, not the weak ones. We're talking EF2 plus. I think he mentioned 20 or more to get a high risk. That's the confidence you need to get a high risk. This one, I don't know. I think you can get away with a moderate. Yep. Definitely. But you need so much confidence to get a high risk, it's not even funny. And this one, you don't have that confidence right now. That's something that don't get answered until you're at the doorstep of this event. So don't bank on it going high risk. I know everybody's going crazy on Twitter about it. Don't bank on it, okay? It's more than enough that you have a margin of slight risk and an enhanced. Don't bank on it going high risk across the board. Go ahead.
And again, it doesn't matter if you're in a moderate, if you're in an enhanced. Exactly. It doesn't matter. Just for example, Oklahoma on Sunday, Cameron was out there.
Oh, yeah.
It was a moderate risk. They had widespread damaging winds.
Memphis, Texas.
90 plus miles per hour. They had, I'm not sure what the tornado count's up to right now.
It was
at least 20.
Yeah. I was going to say around Oklahoma City area was 5, and then there was the other areas.
Also, you had several EF2 plus tornadoes
you did.
in that event. So again, moderate risk. You don't, again, in the enhanced risk, we saw tornadoes as well.
Yeah.
We saw damaging winds in a slight risk in northwest Arkansas.
I was going to say, matter of fact, the enhanced risk out there, Memphis, Texas, 114 mile per hour winds with that derecho that chased on Sunday. So that's the thing, guys. You don't need this to go high risk to take it seriously. The marginal, the slight risk, the enhanced risk, that hatched area in the enhanced risk, it's more than enough. I do think it will go moderate. I do believe that will be the case. But right now, don't bank on it going high risk or anything like that. Like I said, I know Twitter's going crazy with it, but just don't bank on it right now here. So give me 1 second. I know you probably pulled up another one. Okay, so there's Matt. Are we looking at more of a tornado threat or a wind threat or both on Thursday? And is this the same system that dropped snow in Southern California? Now,
yes.
I was going to say, I haven't kept up with their weather over there.
All right, so basically, so this system, this is a godsend for California because they've had several years of drought. They've had several years of nothing. And they are over plus 300% in snowfall for the year.
Wow.
The mountains of California, you actually had winter storm warnings just to the mountains all the way to San Diego with this event. You had 2 to 4 to up to 6 feet of snow in the mountains of California. That low has been there for a few days. It is now starting to get that kick out, and that system is going to slowly progress. Again, the Rocky Mountains are expected to see heavy snowfall, while you're going to start to see a severe threat develop as the system moves east. That's why your Gulf moisture is being pulled in so early with this event, because your low is so strong. Now keep in mind, that trough is going to slowly move east because of your high pressure ridge over the Gulf of Mexico and the southeastern U.S. So yes, in a way, this is the same system, but no, it's not, because it's going to be coming in 2 pieces, one tomorrow and then the main one on Thursday.
Yep. And bear with me for just a bit. Like I said before, I know everybody's trying to figure out timing. The stream's going to lag it for just a second because I had to load up Chrome over here. That should have fixed the problem. We're good. So I know everybody's trying to figure out timing for Thursday. Like I mentioned before, and I'm going to repeat this. Folks, be patient with this. Timing right now for Thursday is going to be afternoon Thursday to as late as 6 a.m. Friday morning. Specific timing for specific locations and counties will come in time, but it's going to be you guys being patient with us. That's going to be the biggest thing, because we're trying to learn this as much as you're trying to get the information. So keep that in mind, guys. Like I said, I know that's the most frustrating thing on the planet to hear, that you have an outbreak coming and you don't know what time it's coming. But we promise you guys, we're working our behinds off trying to get the timing nailed down. We don't want to give you guys false timing, and then we have to change it a million times before we get there. I'd rather for it to give you guys accurate and late versus false and early. I've always stood by that. So that's the biggest thing with that, guys. I'm going to pull some model data here in a little bit and kind of take a look at everything here in just a second. I'm going to get that loaded up.
Let's go look at out of FutureCast.
Yeah. Okay, so give me 1 second. I'm switching over to this. So that was his question from earlier on here. So this is the HR for tomorrow. And this was kind of a little bit of an earlier run. The ZRZ probably has a little bit different idea than this. But you can see this around 2 p.m. tomorrow. Now, I'm going to kind of take this out about 3 p.m. and I'm going to stop it right here. So that supercell that you see from Mena to the Queen, just northwest of Arkadelphia, this is what you're going to have to watch tomorrow. Now, I'm going to kind of somewhat debunk your enhanced risk because, first of all, the coverage. Yep. The coverage of the storms are going to be in question. That's the number one thing they're going to throw at you right immediately. If you get more coverage, obviously it'll go enhanced. But if it ends up just being this one supercell, I think you can probably get away with a slight risk with this. But this one supercell is going to have to be watched because this is right along the warm front. Warm front's going to be moving north as these storms start to begin to develop across the air. So this is about 3 p.m. tomorrow, and we can take this out all the way through, and you can see this about 4 p.m. There's the cluster of thunderstorms across the board, and notice something. Right over here just to the east of Mena, notice the hook that's trying to do. There's going to be a lot of mid-level rotation. The problem is, like Derek mentioned before, you don't have the low-level rotation just yet. That comes on Thursday. So you're going to have a very large hail threat with these storms coming in tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow evening. But your tornado threat, and I'm going to tell you right now, your radar apps are going to scream, it's rotating, it's rotating, it's rotating, it's rotating. Why are we not live? Why is there no tornado warning? It's rotating. There's a lot of mid-level rotation going on, but it's not going to connect down to the surface. We're going to have to watch it closely, but I think Thursday's tornado threat easily supersedes what tomorrow's tornado threat is going to be. I promise you. So keep that in mind across the board when you see these storms start to go up tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow evening. And then you can see by 5 p.m., there's Little Rock, there's Pine Bluff. Right there along I-40, you're going to have to watch this. It's that cluster of storms that's going to develop, and that's going to just completely move to the east-northeast very, very quickly as we get towards tomorrow evening and then tomorrow night. And then you can see, by the time we get towards 7 p.m., that's out. We will have to watch out for some additional development back out here towards the west. Keep an eye on that. It does want to throw us some supercells up here in northeastern Arkansas. That's going to be about 9, 10 o'clock. CHR don't want to go 100% right off of the gate with the radar, but it does give you an idea of what to do. And then by the time you get towards 1 o'clock in the morning, this is where it ends. Notice something. It's quiet. There's no widespread showers and thunderstorms. There's no big presence of a cold pool in place. Yep. And I'll bet you right now, if the HR continues to verify like this, your warm front is going to end up further north than expected here. So go ahead.
And that's going to be the biggest thing. So the biggest thing tomorrow is going to be the hail risk. You're going to have a lot of cold air aloft. And, something else that I've noticed even today is that your upper level winds are already shearing. They're already they're already very, very high. Unfortunately, that's just going to lead to a bigger event as we get closer to Thursday. Wednesday and Thursday. So once again, as we mentioned, tomorrow is going to be the event before the event. Tomorrow's going to be that event where we may see a few isolated tornado warnings here and there. I doubt we do, but I say that very loosely because
we'll have to watch it close.
Especially along the front, you will have a localized air share. Tomorrow's going to be a mesoscale day. Basically, what that means is that it's going to be a day where the smallest ingredient could be thrown in to create an isolated severe weather event greater than what is expected.
Yep.
We saw this in Ohio, I think it was Monday, I do believe.
Yeah, it was Monday.
In Ohio, on Monday, they had, I think, like 10 tornadoes up there and a slight risk.
Yeah.
So anything's possible, but once again, the biggest message from this is just be prepared, not scared, have a plan of action, have a way to receive those warnings and those watches. And of course, we have the link now pinned in the comments section for our text alerts.
Yeah. So what I'm doing right now is I'm showing you guys the current data. So this is the HR. Now I want to stress something to you guys just right out the gate. Model guidance right now is going to have a hard time with this setup because it just depends on what happens with your frontal boundary here. But this is what we're going to have to watch. Now, I'm going to take this back all the way back to tomorrow. So this is tomorrow's event. And this is what we're looking at here is what's called surface-based instability or severe thunderstorm fuel. This is the fuel you need for the potential to see severe weather. Now, Obviously, you can see much of central, eastern Arkansas, southern Arkansas, the 1100 to 1500 values, pretty good for severe weather development here. And then you can see what ends up happening. Now, like I mentioned before, the HR is going to struggle with the radar a lot. So the future gas you just saw a second ago, here's the newest run. It's going to be loading up here in just a little bit, and this is what it has. Now it's further to the south with it. So it's going to be a question of what happens with the warm front, what we're going to be dealing with and everything like that. But this is going to be concerning because what this will do, this will move out very quickly. So if anyone's wanting timing, it's at 7 p.m. Okay, this is 7 p.m. tomorrow evening. Take this radar very loosely because it's going to change a million times before we get there tomorrow. But you can see this gets out of the area, okay, it comes a cluster of storms, and then what it does, it hangs that warm front up right through here, okay? It hangs the warm front right through here in southern Arkansas. I don't buy that. I think it's going to be further north than this. Like I mentioned before, it's the HR. You're past 30 hours out. You're going to have to watch and see what ends up happening with this. But notice something. There is no rainfall ahead of this front. There's nothing. There's nothing that's going to keep this from surging north. So what's going to happen is you're going to have that brief period, Wednesday evening, Wednesday night, first thing Thursday morning. It's going to be cool if this solution were to verify, and then what will end up happening during the day, your warm front will rapidly surge north because your low-level jet will start to kick in and everything like that. So keep that in mind across the area, guys. So we're going to have to watch this closely, but it all depends on what happens with your warm front as we get towards this time frame here. And you can see, even Thursday morning, it's trying to throw up some hailers down here in southern Arkansas, so keep that in mind. But no evidence of heavy rainfall up here. You need heavy rainfall up here, as much as we don't like flooding. You need this heavy rainfall up here to keep that warm front south, and I'm just not seeing that right now with the computer model data here. So go ahead, Derek. I think do you have a question that was popped up? Give me 1 second. I turned it off for a bit because I know everyone's trying to figure out southern Arkansas here. So that was Matt's comment here. Give me 1 second. Let me see. So there's Will. Will has a question. So when it comes to a commercial building, I think he's trying to ask, like, what would you do in that situation if it was like a commercial building? I'm gonna let you take.
This is
depends honestly
upon the business or the like. I know, for example, like Walmart, stuff like that. They have their own protocols when it comes to taking a shelter, I guess, and stuff like that. It just really depends upon the business. Nobody has to require you to take shelter. I've seen it time and time again where they've kicked people out.
Oh yeah.
So
sad, but yeah.
But everybody's different. Every business, it's really going to depend, Will, upon the different
business and everything like that,
businesses and stuff like that,
and their regulated rules and everything. So obviously, that's a good question, by the way. But it just depends. But every business should be able to let people come in during tornado warnings. That's just, if you don't, there's something wrong with you. It's just my honest opinion. So, Stacy, I'm gonna tell you that right now. It's gonna be known. As a matter of fact, it'd be worse for you if the warm front goes further north because your area of unstable air is behind that warm front. So you can see something real quickly. This is the HR. This is first thing Thursday morning. I'm gonna tell you this right now. That warm front's gonna surge north next couple of hours from this. But there's your warm front placement. It's just south of I-40. Much of southern Arkansas is already in the game plan for severe weather. You'll be right here, Stacy, in northeast Texas. So your warm front's further to the north. So no, it will actually increase your severe threat. As a matter of fact, you have a high shot of seeing a moderate risk out of this by probably as early as midnight tonight. Or even first thing around lunch tomorrow when they do that noon update. So that's gonna be the case down there in northeastern Texas here. But yeah, the Arkansas test area.
And let's mention what time of the day this is as well.
This is 6 p.m. Not 6 p.m. 6 p.m. 6 a.m. This is 6 a.m. Thursday morning.
This is 6 a.m. on Thursday morning.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is almost 6 hours before the event.
No daytime.
Or 12 hours.
Yeah, I was going to say 12 hours. No daytime
12 hours before the event.
Yeah.
And these are dew point temperatures. These are not air temperatures. Those are dew point temperatures ahead of the event.
Yep. And there's your warm front beginning to move northward. These are going to be hailers, by the way. I'm not really too concerned about these because your warm front's still going to be to the south. Let me see what it's trying to do with this. I think the HR Well, nope. Let me take this out. It's still at 6 a.m., so this is the latest run that's now coming out. We've got to keep an eye on that warm front placement here, but this is at 6 a.m., and obviously this is going to change a million times. This could end up further north, it could end up further south, and stuff like that. So that's why we're telling you guys so much that pay attention to the forecast going forward, because things will change over the next 24 to 48 hours out here, guys. Firstly, we've got to get through tomorrow's event. Tomorrow's event is just as important as Thursday's event. And then we'll talk more about Thursday once we get past that point here, okay? So, Jared, actually, as a matter of fact, I do. I've actually looked at the CSU machine learning before, and I think SBC uses that not really to 100% for their forecast, but they use it as a tool. They use it as a decent tool for forecasting. So. Right now, I'm going to tell you just straightforward without even looking at it. It does have a 15% tornado risk across much of Arkansas. It's a moderate risk. I looked at it before we did the live stream. Now, like I mentioned before, you don't want to just take that and run with it, because I've seen machine learning do extremely great, and I've seen it do horrible with it. As a matter of fact, Jared, if you give me just 1 second, I can get this up for you real quickly here. Let's talk about that. So there's your machine learning coming in. And we're going to go over to the current forecast. I don't think it's going to be out just yet. It's not out just yet. So we're going to go to day 3. And this is what it's wanting to do. Okay, now I'm going to scoot the screen over. As if I'm not going to scoot the screen over, I'm going to zoom out and show you guys what we're talking about with this. Okay, so top right and the top left is going to be your tornado risk. Your top right is going to be your hail. And then at the bottom, where it's kind of buried right now, is your wind risk. But there's your tornado threat, okay? Now, the newest update of this afternoon brings that tornado risk into Arkansas. That's a 15% tornado risk. That'll be a moderate. But like I mentioned before, it all depends on that warm front placement, okay? Then there's your hail threat, and then there's your wind threat. Your wind threat is obviously across central and southern Arkansas. Knows what it's doing now. It has a slight risk all the way up into southern Missouri. So don't take this and run with it and say it's going to be an outbreak and stuff like that. But the thing is, just make sure that you're just kind of paying attention to the updates, because this changes a lot day by day here. And they do use this from time to time, but it's just like any other computer model. It's not 100% perfect what it's wanting to do with that here. So I'm going to go back over to Weatherbell real quickly and have that up for you. So go ahead there.
Yep. All right, so basically, I'm seeing a lot of questions here about the shear instability, et cetera, like that when it comes to certain areas of the state. Again, one thing to mention is that anywhere south of that boundary, anywhere is going to have high shear, high instability, and the ingredients for severe weather. North of that boundary, your chance goes way, way down, and that is going to be the key. On this event is where that boundary sets up is where your greatest threat for severe weather will exist. And as you can see, with each passing run,
it's struggling. It's struggling. It's struggling with the warm front placement right now. So I don't know. Here's the thing. Now this would be your best case scenario. Look what it did with the latest run. All that heavy rainfall up here across the northern Arkansas. This would be your best case scenario if you were to go with the HR. Now I want to warn you about the HR. You go past 30 hours out, the accuracy drops like a rock. I've seen it change. We've seen this with winter weather before, where at 48 hours out, they look, amazing. You had snow and everything like that, and then actually when you get closer to real time, it went away from that idea. So keep that in mind with the HR. This would be obviously the best case scenario. This would be awesome, but you need to take the HR lightly, because you can't just go off of this run and run with it. You have all the other computer model data that you have to look at in order to have an idea of what's going to happen.
Tuesday night.
And it's Tuesday night, right.
It's Tuesday night. We are still 48 hours from the event for Thursday. So again, we still have roughly 2 days to watch Thursday's event. So again, this time tomorrow, we'll have a better idea.
And you can
we'll have a much better idea on where things are going to be. But as you can see, again,
there's the euro, by the way. And it basically just says the same thing. So you're basically the warm front stretches from Fort Smith to Little Rock up to, I'd say, the Blytheville area up here in northeastern Arkansas. And then what ends up happening, and this is another thing that I'm concerned about, is your system starts to approach Notice how your warm front rapidly shifts northward because you increase your wind shear. So you need to watch out for that. We saw a similar case like this in 2014. If you go back and look at the Mayflower, the Valonia tornado, that's exactly what happened. Your warm front's in southern Arkansas, your system started to approach, and your warm front shot north, and it ended up with that supercell developing, and that's how you got that tornado. So keep that in mind. Something that you will have to watch out very closely. This will be late in the game, Thursday into the Friday morning, and then you'd have to keep an eye on it because look at there, you still have to deal with this throughout late Thursday night and into Friday morning. And then Friday, behind the system, you're going to have southwest wind. It is going to be a little warm on Friday. Maybe northwest Arkansas will have to watch it. But then once your winds shift to northwest, you should start to cool down very, very quickly here. So do storms stay on the boundary? It just depends. There's been a lot of cases about it, going north of the boundary or, rooting to the boundary and stuff like that. There's a lot of cases that goes, from case by case for every different system, and every different storm. Sometimes they do it and sometimes they don't. It's hard to predict, especially when you're 48 hours out, that's going to do that exact same thing. So just keep an eye on that. The HR, like so far, would be the best case scenario for Arkansas. South Arkansas, on the other hand, you're screwed either way. It has 70-degree dews down there. You'd have the threat for severe weather down there in southern Arkansas. But central and north, you would have a leeway around this event if that were to be the case. But right now, it's just too early to kind of put pinpoints on what's going to happen. But tomorrow's event is definitely spot on with tomorrow's event. As a matter of fact, let's take a look at this. It's going to be what we call your significant tornado parameter. And we're going to take a look at this. And this is going to show tomorrow. Give me 1 second. There's tomorrow. You can see down there in South Arkansas, that goes away. And then this is during the day on Thursday. And you can see down there in South Arkansas. Notice how South Arkansas takes off. But central and north, you're good because you're north of the warm front. It keeps the warm front further to the south. Let's see what ends up happening with this. And also keep in mind, the system is not sampled either.
Yep.
I've seen this pull the exact same trick when I went and chased in Oklahoma on Sunday, that the warm front wasn't supposed to make it that far north. Things were cooler. We got to the day of, and it was a completely different story. So keep that in mind, guys. We're going to watch the situation closely across the area here. So, Derek, I was going to say, if you have any more questions on your side.
Okay. So will there be a dry line with this setup?
Yes, there will be. And it'll be out there in East Texas and southern Oklahoma associated with your storm system. There will be a dry line with this. And as a matter of fact, your dry line is actually going to surge into southwestern Arkansas as your system begins to pull off towards northeast. But eventually, I think by that point, the cold front should be able to catch up to that dry line. It should become more of a cold front by the end. But something that we'll just have to keep an eye on here. But yeah, there will be a dry line with this setup. Obviously, if you go down to East Texas, western Louisiana, you have that threat. But I am worried about a cap down there. You'll have to keep an eye on a capping inversion down there in East Texas and Louisiana. Arkansas, on that warm front, you just got to keep an eye on it, folks. Like I said before, things are going to change over the next 2 days here, okay? Yep. But like I mentioned before, this right here, this is going to be your best friend. You need all of this heavy rainfall to keep this threat south. If this does not pan out, you will have a significant threat for severe weather. Mm-hmm. And one thing I'm going to stress to you guys right now, you're hearing outbreak, and then you'll get to Friday, and it doesn't happen for your specific location, and then you're going to start getting frustrated and angry. This is not an event to get angry about. This is not an event to throw a temper tantrum about. It's not. If you don't see severe weather out of this setup, consider yourself blessed, because in this setup, it is very hard to negate out of a severe weather threat. So no need for all that. Just keep that in mind over the next 2 days here.
There's something that I do want to mention about this type of this type of setup. If anybody remembers April 27th of 2014, that was a high risk day, I believe.
It was a high risk Southwest Arkansas.
Yep. Now keep this in mind, it was raining all day. It was cool all day. Everybody was like, "Oh, nothing's gonna happen. It's gonna be a bus up, stuff like that." We had one storm in the state. That's what we had. We had one supercell in the state that produced a EF4 tornado that moved through Ferndale, that moved through Mayflower, that moved through Valonia. And then that cell went on to produce more tornadoes as the warm front surged north.
Yep.
That night, we saw tornadoes develop as the warm front surged north, and then we had a cold front come through that night that also produced tornadoes there. So again, that being said, just because you see rainfall that day does not mean you won't see any tornadoes at all, and all it takes is one storm to be a bad day.
You may still get a moderate out of that, and I'm going to tell you why. So if you pay attention to the left side of your screen, you see that line that's developing out there just to the west of Dallas. What's going on with the HRR is during the day, it's pretty cool. It's going to be kind of set up where you literally just said this about 2014. So what happens is your warm front surges north during the overnight hours. You're going to have to watch that because you may end up from a afternoon evening threat quickly going into a nocturnal tornado event across Arkansas as that system begins to lift to the northeast. Remember, the system is not moving due east. If it was moving due east, then we would probably be talking about far south Arkansas, North Louisiana, those threats. But this is moving northeast. Yep. So this is going to take that warm front that set up Mena to, I'd say, roughly Fordyce down into western Mississippi, and it's going to lift it northward within time. So you gotta keep an eye on that. And obviously, if this warm front ends up further to the north, things can and will change and stuff like that. But the biggest thing I want to stress to you guys right now: stay tuned. Stay tuned. A lot of information is gonna be thrown at you over the next 24 to 48 hours out here.
Now, Kara, I do want to say we're not comparing this to the 2014 event.
No.
What I'm doing that is doing a similarity to the fact that just because you get a cold pool early in the morning, does not negate a tornado.
This situation you wouldn't.
If your
kinematics, there you go. Kinematics, there you go.
Are more than sufficient, and this is one of those events where it's going to be more than sufficient.
Yep.
The question is going to be where that front sets up.
You can see that right there. That's about 5 o'clock in the evening. And you can see your warm front beginning to kind of creep back north. It can't do it, obviously, because you have all that cold, what Derek just said, that cold pool up here in northern Arkansas is trying to expect to suppress it. The problem is, if you lose your rainfall up here and it goes to Missouri, there's nothing that's going to stop this warm front from coming north during the overnight hours. So watch it close. Like I mentioned before, things are going to change a lot over the next couple of days here. If we can get away from this event without a significant outbreak, that'll be awesome. That'll be gravy. But right now, everything is still on the table for seeing significant severe weather. Things are going to change over the next 24 to 48 hours. The next live stream we will have, we're going to see about tomorrow. It's not going to be in the morning or anything like that. We're going to have updates throughout the day tomorrow. Yep. We'll try to squeeze one out probably early afternoon, tomorrow afternoon, and stuff like that if we're not doing tornado warning coverage. And then obviously after tomorrow's event, we'll try to stick one out tomorrow night if it's not too late. And then on Thursday, we'll have one for you guys as well. So the next one's going to be sometime tomorrow. We'll announce all that good information once we get there.
To keep in mind, we both do work full-time jobs as well.
Exactly.
This is not our job. This is strictly volunteer. So again, that being said, we do work full-time jobs, so we can't just go live every 5 seconds whenever. But we're going to make sure you have the quality information on the page throughout the day.
Definitely.
That is going to be the biggest thing.
I love Stacy's comment. Really hoping this forecast bust. I never understood why people get upset. I can understand a busted snow forecast, but not a severe weather threat. Be thankful. I was a Mayflower that day of the April 2014 tornado. Yep. And that day was a headache to forecast because you had a high risk southwest Arkansas up to Little Rock, I do believe. And a lot of, like you said, a lot of people were saying that was going to happen. You had all that cold rain and everything, and then you obviously know what happened later that evening. So just keep that in mind here, guys. But there's no need for it. If you don't see anything, that's perfectly awesome. Like I said before, let's hope the HR were to verify. Don't take it literally because it's 48 hours out, and you know how things change with the HR. So
once again, just to go over everything, while everyone's looking up questions and the comments. Wednesday, we have a severe threat. It's the event before the event.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to
large hail is the primary threat tomorrow. However, a brief isolated tornado is not out of the equation.
Yeah.
Tomorrow will be an afternoon evening event, and that event will not dictate what happens Thursday. Wednesday's event is totally separate from Thursday. Again, I'm going to read it one more time. Wednesday's event will not affect Thursday's event. The only thing it will affect is where that front placement is.
Yep.
And that is going to be the biggest thing. Thursday, to a severe weather outbreak. Now, we didn't say tornado outbreak. We said severe weather outbreak. That means large hail damaging winds and tornadoes. High winds, 80 mile per hour plus, large hail 2 inches in diameter. The potential is also there for strong to violent tornadoes as well. Now, that being said, all it takes is one to be a bad day.
Yep.
Now, again, to a severe weather outbreak is possible on Thursday. The ingredients are there. The question is going to be, where does our front set up?
Yep.
All indications are it's going to be in southern Missouri with a secondary boundary somewhere along the I-40 corridor or just north. So that's the two areas you need to be concerned about, whether you're a marginal slight or enhanced risk, particularly a moderate risk. You need to take it seriously no matter where you're at, because you can have a tornado in a marginal risk, and you can have severe weather in a marginal risk. You can have nothing in a moderate risk and have an outbreak in a slight risk. Severe weather doesn't care about a color or a risk area.
Yep.
The biggest thing you need to be concerned about is that, yes, there's going to be severe weather. You need to have a plan of action. You need to know where your tornado safe place is. You need to have an emergency kit ready. You need to know where your storm shelters are. You need to have all this information readily available, and you need to go over that plan with your family when that, ahead of time. So when that warning gets issued tomorrow, or you get that text from Arkansas Weather Watch saying a tornado warning has been issued for your area, hey, I need to take shelter. I know where to go. And again, it's going to be one of those events to where you are going to either be in a shelter pretty much most of the afternoon and evening,
yep,
or you're going to be enjoying a nice rain shower all day.
Yep.
That's going to be the biggest thing. I
love Rose's comment. She comments this every time we have a severe threat.
Some of the biggest things.
The Springdale tornado, the EF3 Springdale tornado. That was a marginal risk.
Yep.
That was a marginal risk. You had a significant tornado on that, so keep that in mind. Don't be what we call severe risk bias. Don't just don't. It will burn you every time. I promise you.
Let's go to Thursday's outlook once again, Cam.
Yeah.
Let's go to Thursday's outlook. I want to harp on Wednesday, but Thursday is the event. Again, Thursday is the main event. We have several people just now coming in as well. Again, Thursday, the Storm Prediction Center said it. National Weather Service of Little Rock has said it.
Yep.
National Weather Service of Shreveport has said it. National Weather Service of Memphis has said it. Severe weather outbreak is on the table for Thursday. We're not talking tornadoes. Well, we are talking tornadoes, but we're talking tornadoes, damaging winds, and large hail.
Yeah.
And
there's more to severe weather than just tornadoes, folks. I promise you. There's more. And coming from me that just got through dealing with a 120 mile per hour derecho in Oklahoma this past Sunday, there's more to severe weather than tornadoes. I promise you. Damaging winds can be just as bad as dealing with than tornadoes. So keep that in mind. Don't just base severe weather off of just I didn't get hit by a tornado. I just got winds and that was it. Winds can be just as bad as dealing with tornadoes. Keep that in mind, guys. Severe weather is one of those things that people should never be biased about. You shouldn't even have a bias to severe weather because it impacts your life more than winter weather. Winter weather, not obviously ice and stuff like that, but severe weather causes the most damage. So you shouldn't even have a bias on any sort of severe weather, and that includes flooding too. You shouldn't have a bias with it to begin with. So let me see here. I'm going to go over everything right now. So let me see here. Okay, so yeah, Rose, I love your comment as well. That's the biggest thing. If you're in a marginal slight risk area, don't let your guard down, folks. Just don't. It's not going to be that situation where if you're in a marginal slight risk area, you're not going to see anything. We're just reiterating everything that we've been saying. The potential is on the table. If you get out of this without seeing severe weather, don't throw a temper tantrum. It's going to be fine. I promise you, you're going to be just fine. So keep that in mind, guys, okay? The warm front placement will make or break Thursday's event. But do not let tomorrow's event sneak up on you because as it stands right now, tomorrow's event impacts more of an area, has much more instability at this point. But Thursday, we'll have to keep an eye on it because it just depends on where that warm front ends up being at. And guidance right now is not going to nail it until perhaps this time tomorrow or even first thing on Thursday morning. This is going to be something that what we call surface ops that we're going to have to watch closely with this as well here. So let me see here. I think that is, Sheridan. Actually, matter of fact, we'll go back to this. This is Will's. Sheridan had a slight risk in December of 2022 and got an EF2 tornado at 2 o'clock in the morning. And I'm really worried, honestly. I'm not wanting to take the HR and just run with it, but I am starting to get concerned about that nocturnal threat. Because you're going to have to watch that low pressure. Wherever a warm front sets up, warm front's going to naturally lift north. So you're going to have to watch that nocturnal threat real closely. But during the day, wherever you are with that warm front, you're south that warm front, that's where you're going to have that potential of seeing some significant severe weather across the
So, Summer, one thing I do want to mention, everybody's kind of concerned about schools. Now, schools have plans, for this type of event. Schools have plans. In the event there's severe weather, something I'm seeing is that most of it's going to be after school hours.
Yeah.
We're not expecting much during the daytime hours, during school hours, during the day. Most of this does look to come in 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the afternoon. And so it's going to be after school hours. But that being said, there are some after school events. We have state tournaments going on right now. We have sporting events going on right now. Again, that's the biggest thing is that we're going to have to watch for. But again, I think during school hours we're going to be fine. Most of this will come in after school hours. Same thing for tomorrow. Yep. It's going to be after school hours. So that's the biggest thing to worry about is that I think you'll be fine tomorrow and Thursday when it comes to school. Now, in terms of flights, in terms of that's going to be strictly if the air is affected at that certain time.
Yep.
There's no way to know. If you're going to have a tornado, if you're going to have a surveillance storm at said time, at said second, at said minute, at your house. There's no way to know. The biggest thing is that confidence is high that we're going to see severe weather on Thursday. Confidence is medium that we're going to see severe weather tomorrow. Again, tomorrow looks to be much more isolated threat. Thursday looks to be a widespread event. And again, we're not just talking about Arkansas, Louisiana, Oklahoma, Texas, into Tennessee and Mississippi as well. For some of our followers there as well.
Yep.
But again, that being said, just have a plan of action in case of the worst case scenario.
Yep. And I'm gonna tell you guys this right now because I know a lot of people. Like I said, this has been well advertised on social media. Right. I mean, it's not only just us. It's all the local news stations. You're probably a lot of people have talked about this event. Not even here in Arkansas. Mainly across the Mid-South. They've talked about this event coming up for Thursday. I want to stress this right now. I get the storm anxiety. I get it. We both get it. We understand completely. But the biggest thing I'm going to stress to you, and this is going to sound a little blunt, and it's going to sound, easier said than done, but you're going to have to go with this what we call mindset. You're going to have to. I promise you, we've got you covered. That's the reason why we've worked so hard in getting our stuff upgraded, getting our live streams upgraded, and everything like that. We've busted our behinds. That way, you guys can feel safe and comfortable. So I promise you, if you go into this event with a calm mindset, as hard as I get it. I know it's easier said than done, but I promise you, if you go in this with a calm mindset, you have that game plan. That game plan is going to be your weapon. That's going to be that weapon in your pocket. That's what you're going to need. And you go into this event with a calm mindset, I promise you, you're going to be just fine. Okay? Don't think of the worst that's going to happen. Think of, hey, if something happens, I'm good to go. I've got a plan. Let's do this. Let's do that. Don't go into Thursday. That's why we're asking you guys the questions. We're taking the questions right now because I don't want anyone going into Thursday and then asking the questions, and then trying to figure out what to do for a plan. Take this time now. It's quiet. There's nothing going on. Take the time now. Have that game plan. Be proactive. That way, when Thursday happens, you're not freaking out. You're good to go. You're speed ahead. You say, hey, there's tornado warning. Tornado warning just went off my phone. Let's go. Let's get our stuff. Let's go. We talked about this. Let's go. So that's the thing, guys. Like I said, we completely get the anxiety. But if you go into Thursday, frantic mind, no plan, it's not gonna end well. So you gotta make sure you have that plan. And if you need information, feel free to contact us as well. We have an entire staff that is willing to help you get through these types of events. This is what we do here. This is exactly what we do. So keep that in mind, guys. Like I said before, I'm not bashing anyone or anything for having that. I completely understand, but I promise you, if you stay tuned, you ask us questions, you have that game plan, you'll be 100% fine. Even in a situation that there's a tornado warning or, massive severe weather coming your way, you have that game plan ready to go across the areas. So let's go for it. And I know a lot of people coming in late. Folks, we're not live stream biased. We don't just post live streams and that's it. We have an entire page that has all that information. So if you missed it here, it's not the end of the world. Go to the page. You have all that information on there, or send us a message. We'll be here. We don't mind answering questions. As long as there's respectful questions and they're actually legit questions, we don't mind answering them at all. So let me see here. Do we go over everything? I think that is mainly it in terms of all the questions. Derek, I'm not sure if you're got anything else you need to address over there.
How many questions for Thursday? And once again, as we mentioned, Thursday is going to be one of those days where it's going to be several different rounds of rain and storms.
Yeah.
The main event does look to be Thursday afternoon, evening into the overnight hours. However, the potential is there all day for severe weather across the state. Again, guidance is still trying to depict the position of that front, how much rainfall there's going to be, etc. Once again,
I'm gonna pull her comment because I don't like
if you rewatched this live stream, you saw guidance come in. It was one run of one model. It's going to change 1,000 times. Between now and then,
Yep.
The biggest thing what we look at is called the counts, and that's overall what is the ingredients that we look for, and it takes everything and puts it into a big blender and spits out a solution. And right now,
that solution is not
everything
good.
points towards a severe weather event. And that's what we want to mention. Points towards severe weather outbreak, especially across central and southern Arkansas on Thursday.
Yeah. So that's the biggest thing, guys. I know, and I mentioned this at the beginning of the live stream, a lot of people are tuning in. They're immediately wanting timing. Like, they're immediately wanting. Like I mentioned, I get it. I understand. Everybody, Thursday has been a well-advertised event. Don't let tomorrow blindside you. I don't want to have to deal with anybody that's getting blindsided about tomorrow. You've got to get past tomorrow before you deal with Thursday. You have an event tomorrow that you have to get past. I don't care if it's not enhanced or moderate or high risk or anything like that. Severe weather should not even have a bias to it. Tomorrow's threat is there. You need to be ready for tomorrow before you even think about Thursday, because you got to get past tomorrow. But to address the issue in terms of timing on Thursday, you haven't seen a lot of timing maps for Thursday because there hasn't been a lot of consistency with timing. Like I mentioned before, when we put that timing map out probably tomorrow, it's not going to be that specific county by county, minute by minute timing. It's not going to be that specific. It's going to be a broad-based timing. It's going to be a 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. or it's going to be a noon to 6 p.m. And it's going to frustrate a lot of people. But the biggest thing is you're just going to have to understand that this is an event that you're going to have multiple rounds of severe weather. It's not going to come at you all at once. You're going to deal with this entire thing until this storm system gets out of here.
Yep.
You're just going to have to understand that. That's going to be the biggest thing going forward with this. But tomorrow, like I mentioned before, we're going to try to get our timing maps and stuff like that out. But I'm going to tell you now, you're not getting the timing map out of us until we have some accuracy behind it. You're not getting one this early because I don't want to have to go back and change it over and over and over and over and over again. I'd rather give it to you guys and there's accuracy behind it versus giving you guys early and you don't know when the exact time is going to be, if that makes sense. So let me see here. We'll go over everything right now. Let me see here. Yeah, the estimated rainfall. That Mark, you're the first one that's actually asked that question. Yep. The flooding threat has been buried. A lot of people take that flooding threat and just throw it in the trash can. They're like, oh, it's not. It's just water. Flooding leads you into most deaths compared to tornadoes, damaging winds, hail, and lightning. Flooding is the number one. Yep. Number one cause of death. And it should be just as important as the tornado threat. So,
and
go ahead. Yeah,
ironically enough, this is Severe Weather Awareness Week in Arkansas.
Yeah,
it's kind of been buried amongst everything else. As a matter of fact, we do need to start sharing those graphics from the National Weather Service as well. It is Severe Weather Awareness Week, where we're going to have a section in our community group on Facebook where we're going to update everything and give you a different topic, in there to update when it comes to Severe Weather Awareness Week. Flooding, tornadoes, damaging winds, warnings, etc. are all part of Severe Weather Awareness Week. And of course, we're going to be updating that throughout the day tomorrow as well to give you kind of some things in an idea of what to basically be aware of and how to be aware of them.
Yeah, and this is the rainfall forecast. This is from WPC. And it's 2 to 3 inches of rainfall. Now, you're probably thinking 2 to 3 inches of rainfall doesn't sound like a lot on paper. It's going to cause some flooding because, like I said before, a lot of people have seen 3 to 4 inches of rainfall already. We're no longer in that significant drought that plagued us all winter long. So you're going to have the flooding potential, especially across the border in northeastern Arkansas.
Yeah.
Don't let that moderate risk or anything like that blindside away from you from the flooding potential. The flooding potential is real and needs to be addressed because a lot of people will go out traveling and then you get in a situation where the roads are flooded, you try traveling on the roads, and then boom, you know what happens after that point. Like I mentioned before, flooding leads into deaths compared to tornadoes, damaging winds, and hail. It's ignored because it's not as, fancy as a tornado or anything like that, but it leads you in depths. It's the most significant severe weather you can get is flooding because of how deadly it can be. So keep that in mind, guys. Don't let that flooding threat sneak up on you as well. I know you got to pay attention to kind of everything. As a matter of fact, Derek, I'm going to ask you this question. There's actually been some situations where you've had a flash flood warning and a tornado warning at the exact same time. What would you do in that situation? Yeah, I know. Yep. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. I had to ask him that because that's one of those situations where you get to the higher ground and then you got a tornado, you got to get underground. So so keep an eye on that. If that situation occurs, we'll find the answer to that. But yeah, there has been situations where that does be the case here. So let me see here. We'll go over everything. Let me see here. So yeah, that water destroyed a lot of homes in Arkansas County. That's what we mean. Keep that in mind here. Turn around and do not drown. That flooding is going to be just as bad as dealing with the other severe weather threats across the board. So I think that is it. I'm not really seeing any more questions. Derek, do you have anything else? You're good?
So the biggest thing is that we're, obviously we're going to have a 7-day outlook coming out this evening.
Yep.
The discussion I wrote up is basically centered on Wednesday and Thursday for you to go and read. Very in detail, in depth about it. And again, obviously after tonight, there won't be another forecast till Friday because all the attention is going to turn to severe weather coverage as we watch for 2 different days of severe weather. And I wanted to go and throw this out there now. Already watching next week as well, Wednesday, Thursday time frame, as another storm system approaches with increasing Gulf moisture as well. So again, this is going to be one of those years we're heading into a neutral year in terms of El Nino and La Nina. We've been in a La Nina pattern for several years now where we are slowly transitioning into a neutral pattern.
Yep.
What that means that in the neutral years, your severe weather tends to uptick. Unfortunately, that's what we're starting to see. We've had several down years in the state of Arkansas. Trends currently are obviously look to be heading the opposite way. Not only for Arkansas, but much of the Mid-South and, of course, the Southern Plains as well.
Yep.
Again, we'll cover each event as we get there. Focus on Wednesday and Thursday. We'll worry about next week as we get closer. Mm-hmm. Again, biggest thing is be prepared, not scared. Have a plan of action. Be ready to go. We will be here all day and night.
One more thing I want to stress before we hop off. The National Weather Service Little Rock. Their radar. I do realize their radars down. I can't literally just message me about it. I do realize their radar is down. That does not mean we will not be on coverage. I want to stress that right now. Yes, their radar is down, and they are working their behinds off trying to get it back up and running. However, it does not negate any coverage that you're going to see from Sierra Arkansas Weather Watchers. We have the other surrounding radars, and we have other radars that we could use in place of the National Weather Service in Little Rock. But right now, their radar is down, and I think they're still trying to figure out what the issue is, how to address it, and everything like that. And hopefully, I'm going to pray on this. Hopefully, we get this back up and running by tomorrow morning. But like I said, right now, they're still trying to figure out what's going on. So keep that in mind. I know that's kind of circulating through right now. We have no National Weather Service in Little Rock. We're not going to get any coverage. That doesn't mean we're not going to get any coverage. That means that we just don't have Little Rock's radar. We can still give you coverage outside of that radar. So keep that in mind across the board here. But that's all I got, Derek. You have anything else you need to address at this point? Like I said before, we're going to continue to keep you guys updated right here in your source for all things Arkansas weather.